Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun. All right, guys. Today's date, December 4th, 2024, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. How the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before we get started, guys, let you know that we do pride ourselves on being a news podcast, which means that we do try to get the most reputable news from certified sources that do well and awarded in journalism. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, The Daily Beast. Whatever extreme left or extreme right you get your views from, we simply don't do that. We present you with the facts, nothing more. That being said, guys, we do try to watch our language on this show, but let's be honest, words do fly. At the same time, maybe things that might be shown that might induce a trigger warning for those, and also for younger viewers, discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, how do we start this? Well, there's not really a way we can start this except with the news that hit. A CEO got hit. And that's about the best way we can actually say it.
With the breaking news right now, the search is on for the suspect after reviewing this security video showing the very moment United Healthcare boss Brian Thompson was shot and killed in Midtown Manhattan early this morning. Investigators also releasing new images of the shooter who they say ran off into an alley and got away on a bicycle. The whole thing unfolding just blocks from Rockefeller Center and hours before the famous tree lighting. The NYPD now offering a $10,000 reward for any information leading them to the shooter.
The motive for this murder currently is unknown, but based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear that the victim was specifically targeted. But at this point, we do not know why. This does not appear to be a random act of violence.
Joining me from the scene of the shooting is our Morgan Norwood.
So we're going to leave it right there because, again, the CEO of a major healthcare corporation has been, well, unalived. That also being said, it's a lot of things the CEO, Brian Thompson, which if you have been on social media, first and foremost, yeah, he was somebody's father. He was somebody's husband. He was probably a friend to some. But to the rest of the world, this is why we say when it comes to CEOs, they're usually very affluent. They're usually financially well set. And more than likely, there's a sinister reason why nobody likes them. In this case, Mr. Thompson is not so different. The reason why? Well, because of a chart like this. What you're looking at here, guys, is the claim denial rates by insurance companies in the U.S. Kaiser Permanente has 7%. Oscar 12, and if we keep going down the list, well, we get to United Healthcare, which, by the way, United Healthcare claim denials, 32%. 32% of claims that have been submitted to United Healthcare were denied. This is also the same company that just reported an $8 billion profit this year. Again, a company in a post-pandemic world where their decisions can affect the lives of millions of its insurers, and they just netted an $8 billion profit windfall, and their CEO again has been sent off their mortal coil. Now, again, this is where some people, and I'm going to be honest, it's going to be difficult to find sympathy because, for a lot of people that look at a CEO, these CEOs basically make decisions. And let's just say if your family or someone you know or someone you love was affected by United Healthcare or, didn't get a medicine, a procedure, or a prior authorization or anything that might have actually saved or even extended their life, didn't get it by this company, I can understand how some folks may feel a way toward him, or they may just sit there and say, thoughts and premiums, or rest in prior authorizations, or did you completely pay your deductible before we can actually give you sympathy? The list goes on. I mean, I'll be honest with you, as a person that probably will laugh at a funeral, some of them are pretty funny. I can't knock that. But at the same time, it does kind of shine a light on how people in America really do view the disconnect. I mean, there's a massive income divide when it comes to CEOs and regular people. Regular people just want to get by, while CEOs are just trying to, well, keep their jobs, so to speak. So, when someone asked me when I was reading this, like when I was reading the comments on that, and I thought some were pretty funny, they go, "Oh, that's horrible. They were a human being." Maybe true. They were a human being. I mean, you're not wrong about that. However, it's hard to not ignore the fact that a lot of that man's decisions to increase the profits in that company may or may not have led to many of its insurers no longer being with us. And at the same time, it does say a lot that this man also traveled without security, was supposedly leaving an investors meeting, and that's when the person in the hoodie was able to get their opportunity. As of right now, that person has not been apprehended. And again, I'm going to be honest, you may not get a lot of help from the public on this one, just because of the fact of, well, a CEO is no longer with us. And as you can see, they are more like, well, he made decisions on people, whether or not their lives will be saved or not. And it sounds like karma came to bite him in the ass. Take it how you will. But again, if they ever catch the person, we'll report it. That also being said, guys, this actually happened over, well, a little bit before the holiday, or Thanksgiving, or Happy Colonizer Day, as we call it. Matt Gaetz. We did find out that Matt Gaetz was the pick to be Trump's AG, Attorney General. But somehow, some way, and very thankfully, he actually stepped down. Reason being, as well, because of the ethics report. This is where I get annoyed with House Democrats, because this report should have been out and gone already. This ethics report that they covered was basically because 2 years ago, and yes, it has almost been 2 years, that Matt Gaetz may have had relations with underage women at parties where certain substances were there, and at the same time, some other questionable allegations that have come up, into which even two people who have intimate knowledge of Mr. Gaetz had testified to the House Ethics Committee, and again, was going to be released at the time of where Mr. Gaetz was about to be the AG pick, and even doing so, resigned from Congress, which everybody thought that would actually kill the report, and it didn't. Although, because of this and the loud uproar, and because Gaetz is a douchebag, Trump had no choice but to go ahead and withdraw the nomination from Gaetz and submit someone as quick as possible, i.e. his replacement is just as bad, or I should say even worse. That being said, the House Ethics Committee still wants to move forward in releasing the ethics report. You're voting, which is crazy. You are voting to release the ethics report. My whole thing is, why is it not out already? Because, again, the simple fact of the matter is, this guy has, again, everybody that Trump has picked, which you're going to see very, very soon, there seems to be a theme here, because Trump is a felon and a sexual predator. Matt Gaetz is a sexual predator. So as we're going along, guys, again, that's just one pick. Let's not forget, the one his current embattled Secretary of Defense pick, Peter Hegseth. Well, he's got a problem. That he's got allegations of sexual abuse, and that is getting to the point to where, and also the fact that he doesn't believe women should serve in the military. But that also being said, it has also brought those things like that Trump himself may need to reconsider him. Why? Birds of a feather, like sexual abuse.
Allegations of financial mismanagement, sexual misconduct, even alcohol abuse. And now his mother is coming to his defense in an exclusive interview. Not sure if mom can help save her son because the number of Republican senators expressing concerns now over Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense is also growing.
I think, some of these articles are very disturbing. He, obviously has a chance to defend himself here, but, some of this stuff is going to be difficult.
Well, these allegations that have come up just in the last 12 to 14 hours are a surprise to all of us. And so, yes, he does need to address those because this was not something of which we were aware.
I don't know if they're true, and I want to hear his side of the story. And he's going to have to address them.
So while it looks like the president-elect's choice is in serious jeopardy, Hegseth continues to double down, taking to social media all morning, saying that he won't back down and that the allegations against him are fake. His mother never saying the allegations were fake, but she did tell Fox News that her son is now a changed man.
I don't want to use the words, but he doesn't misuse women. No. I mean, he's been through some difficult things. I'm not going to list them by name, but I would just say that some of those attachments or descriptions are just not true, especially anymore.
And the controversial cabinet picks don't.
So again, it's amazing. How do you say nothing, but yet still on Fox News find a way to still say nothing? And it is amazing to me that again he wants to basically keep fighting, as he likes to say. I'm going to keep fighting this because I know that first it was not true. Now it's taken out of context. Even Senator Rick Scott tried to come to his defense and sitting there saying, well, if all these people who are accusing him, why don't they come forward so we can actually answer questions? Well, this is the reason why sometimes CNN does the Lord's work.
But these anonymous sources say these things without willing to go on your show or some show, and have you asked them all the questions?
A point that you're making here, the woman who accuses Pete of raping her in 2017, although the police, so we should note, did not charge him with any crime. That woman, Pete Hegseth, paid her money and she signed a non-disclosure agreement, so she can't come on my show to talk about it. Do you think Pete should release her from the NDA so that I can ask her the questions that you want me to?
Absolutely not. Think about it. Jake,
absolutely
how many people, wait, Jake. We know how many people sign non-disclosures just to eliminate something. Not that they ever did anything wrong, and he was never charged with anything.
Do you want me to ask her questions, or do you not want me to ask her questions? I'm confused.
So I'm not going to suggest that somebody, change a contract that they sign, but this is Trump's nominee. He won. A lot of people don't like the fact that he won. He won. We have to make a change as Department of Defense. We have the risk of war. The world's on fire. We've got to change how our Department of Defense is run.
Yeah, no,
he's going to do it.
I hear you, but you started this interview and saying you don't like all these anonymous accusations, and I should be able to interview these people. I'm saying, okay, shouldn't Pete Hegseth release this woman from her non-disclosure agreement so that I can do what you suggested at the top of the interview you wanted me to do?
Absolutely not. I mean, some of these things are done for a variety of reasons. But look,
how am I supposed to interview her and have her not be anonymous anymore if he won't release her from the non-disclosure agreement?
Well, first off, there was an investigation. He wasn't charged. All right, that's exactly what happened. The police did the investigation, and he wasn't charged.
He did pay her money to be quiet, though.
So there was an investigation. He wasn't charged.
So let's clarify some things, Rick Scott, because apparently you're as bad as backtracking as you are with keeping up with Medicare money. Number one, there hasn't been an investigation. The investigation you're referring to is based by the House Ethics Committee, and yet they're still trying to figure out whether or not they want to release it. Yes, Mr. Hegseth did actually have an NDA with said person, and at the same time, as he loved to say at the beginning of that interview, where he sat there and said, I wish the people who are making these accusations would come forward and answer these questions like on your show. To which Jake Tapper said, "Oh, wonderful. So, will Mr. Hegseth actually release said person from the NDA? I would love to have them on the show and ask them questions." Maybe we should. Maybe, I mean, NDAs are there for a reason. Maybe we shouldn't mess with it. Hey, look, we need him, right? Because we need a strong person there. To really label down, to really hunker down on Trump's economy. And it is amazing how Rick Scott turned around. It was like, oh, let me backpedal as fast as humanly possible. He couldn't backpedal fast freaking enough. At the same time, guys, Rick Scott put himself in a hole. That yes, if these people are accusations, but they're under an NDA. And for all those that don't know, or may not know, when you're under an NDA, there's nothing you really can say without breach of contract. If you breach an NDA, you can be sued, and of course, they can collect damages from it. So if Mr. Hegseth has nothing to worry about, then yes, by that logic, release said people from their NDA and allow them to answer questions. But that would mean that be prepared for whatever comes out of their mouth, because apparently you don't want to sign an NDA twice. That also being said, again, that's his Secretary of Defense. Here's the crazy part out of this was that, say for instance, and of course the Trump team is already panicking because their picks are not going out the way they should, but they're panicking. Why are they panicking? Because again, this could possibly be the second nomination that has to be pulled. Well, actually the third. I'll explain the third one momentarily. But if they did pull Hegseth from Secretary of Defense, you know who potential picks could be? And this is the scary part. That's one. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is being considered as a replacement to Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. This guy who treated Florida like his own personal backyard. This guy who sat there and single-handedly basically put in the Don't Say Gay law. This guy who single-handedly got African-American AP studies removed for saying that they may be teaching a woke culture. This is the same guy who, again, in his home state, got school libraries to remove certain books from people of color, of LGBTQ plus ethnic groups, and things of that nature. And now you want to consider this man to be the Secretary of Defense as a replacement? That's a scary effing thought. And of course, U.S. Senator Joni Ernst, which if you have never heard her speak, she's basically got the brown lips because she can't get them off Trump's ass fast enough. Consider her somebody who will do anything that Trump tells her to do with very little back talk. Why? Because Trump has learned his lesson from his first term, and to surround himself with yes people, not smart people, yes people. So again, if Hegseth is kicked out, guys, well, that's your two picks. A guy who considers himself a dictator and a woman who basically will just ass kiss her way up to the next position. I wish I could make this up. But speaking of things I wish I can't make up, I told you guys there was a third. Hegseth might be the third person removed. There's already a second one removed. The person I'm talking about, guys, is the man seen down right here. Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chrysler. He was supposed to be the director for the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA. Well, because of his actions during COVID, if you believe him, he says he withdrew, but supposedly Trump did. But either way, the guy withdrew from the nomination. Why? Because for all those who remember during the pandemic, that certain actions were done by certain people, such as Mr. Sheriff Chrysler himself, actually instituted that some areas were barred from actually going anywhere during COVID-19. I mean, literal lockdowns that nobody asked for. So because of his extreme views on the COVID-19 pandemic and his actions, well, they have basically said, no, we don't really want you as the director of the DEA, to which he has stepped down, and we're waiting on replacements for that. So again, This is the idiocracy. This is what I keep on saying, guys. We are literally less than a month away from idiocracy. Don't believe me, guys, because this is why I keep saying we should be worried about Trump and his mindset, because he talked about Biden being an 80-year-old plus man that should be running as president. Trump's just as old as him. And if you don't believe that a lot of these people are now just buying their way into positions, meet Monica Crowley, Trump's pick as Assistant Secretary of State. Yeesh.
Senator Joe McCarthy was right. And he was trying to ring the bell in the 1950s about communist infiltration in our government. And the same deep state that is now going after Donald Trump, the same deep state that removed Richard Nixon, the same deep state that went after Ronald Reagan and anybody else who stood up to them, that deep state became very insidious, and in the 1950s smeared and attacked Joe McCarthy for speaking the truth about godless communism in very halls of our government.
Yeah. It's amazing. She's now the Assistant Secretary of State nomination, I should say. The fact of that's the first thing she went with, I'm not saying I'm worried. I am worried because that's her mindset. The deep state, conspiracy theorist. It never ceases to amaze me where these people come from and that they gravitate toward Trump. And again, these people are going to be in positions that are going to affect the nation. Even more so, you have folks that, again, in Trump's administration, bought and paid their way into certain programs. Like this instrument, like again, the person supposed to be leading NASA, Jared Isaacman. This man has let me explain this best. He is a billionaire. Yes, he has flown on SpaceX missions, but doesn't have federal government experience. He literally is just a guy with money that has now been put in probably one of the most important areas of our nation. And I'm sorry, this is what I'm talking about, guys, when I mean that in Trump's world, you can literally purchase your position. And they're showing, and I point this out all the time, what Trump is doing, he's basically saying, here's how you can purchase parts of our government, or you can run parts of our government if you choose to. But what's so crazy about it is how there's not a bigger uproar over this, that some people have literally just accepted it, or just like, well, I mean, Trump's going to be president. What can you do? Well, I'm pretty sure the CEO that we talked about earlier in this podcast also thought the same thing. And well, it's not like France, where again, France has shown us how it's done. France has shown us that if they have a vote of no confidence in their government, that yes, you as a prime minister can step down. France has shown that you can protest, that you can fight the system, and you can win. For some odd reason, in America, we just don't seem to have that type of fire. I don't know why. But again, Trump's America. But you know who's really feeling out of place, which I thought was funny. I still think it's funny, because Black Republicans, conservatives. Let me talk to you for a second. How do you feel right now? You feel good? You feel great? Has America been greater since you probably had a hand in getting Dorito reelected? I have to ask you this because I've always said Black Republicans and Black conservatives are effing idiots, because there's nothing conservative that appeals to people of color. Historically has never been. Policy-wise has never been. Anything pushed forward plan-wise has never been to the benefit of people of color, much less anybody else. And yet, Black Republicans, conservatives feel kind of left out. As reported by ABC, Black Republicans feel left out of Trump's second term picks. You know, the Tim Scotts, the Byron Donalds. I can keep going down the list, but I think it's funny because these are the guys that were shucking, that were jiving, that were doing the soft shoe, that were doing everything they can so Massa Trump could give them a place in the field and they're not leaving the field house. Well, we only know one black person that has been nominated, and he's in Secretary of Housing, Scott Turner, who was, again, a guy who was in Trump's first term, served as the executive director of White House Opportunity and Reviolation Council. Another word is just saying that helping, trying to connect to black people is really what it is. But that's it. And he's literally the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Again, and for all those who don't know historically, that seems to be outside of Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Defense, Mr. Austin, who's still currently serving under Biden right now. HUD has always been like the safe job for black people. And yet, I don't know why, whenever it comes to black Republicans, they feel like as long as they it's almost like as long as they back up Trump is supposed to make America great again. Not forgetting the fact that Trump basically took all the HBCUs administrators and chancellors that actually went to go visit him for a photo op, promising money to HBCUs that never saw a single freaking cent, actually. And yet now, black Republicans who are still for Trump are feeling slighted because you're only getting the HUD position. Again, you guys keep forgetting who Trump is. You keep forgetting historically, this is the same man that basically took out a five-page ad in the New York Times calling for the Central Five to be basically to be executed. You guys forget this is the same Trump, along with his father, was found guilty of not renting out to black people. This is the same Trump who has sat there and went on record and said, I don't like black people counting my money. And at the same time, this is the same Trump who basically is racist in every form. And yet black Republicans are feeling slighted. No, you're not feeling slighted. You were used for the soft shoe. And once your part is done, you're back out in the field with the rest of us. Again, what were you expecting from him? But enjoy that HUD position, because that's all you're going to get in Trump's cabinet. Speck of pepper among a whole bunch of mayo. But speaking of things that are mayo, because Republicans are mad, as usual. Republicans are always mad about something. Well, they're mad because the president, Joe Biden, has pardoned his son, Hunter. Again, marking, as you can see there, making history to be the first president to ever grant clemency to his child. Keep in mind, Hunter Biden was basically the Republicans' white whale, or I should say the white whale of the month, because Republicans have went after Benghazi, Republicans have tried to go after Obama's tan suit, Republicans have tried to go after the pullout in Afghanistan under President Joe Biden. So now all they had was Joe Biden's other son, Hunter, a man who may have had some tax dealings, gun issues, and above all else, supposedly a link to Russia via his laptop, which they swear they want to see. But basically, let's be honest, it's one big ass mess. But because President Biden offered him clemency, because again, the president has the ability to pardon anybody, Republicans are still there mad. Oh, well, we knew what he was going to do. He's going to step in and he's going to just basically pardon his son. Here's my thing. If the man is convicted of crimes, okay, be convicted of crimes. I can live with that. But at the same time, in the grand scheme of things, does it affect the country? If it doesn't affect the country, why do we care? It's not like, a president decided to steal hundreds of documents and ship them down to his house in Florida and then decided to sit on them and read them like they were Reader's Digest, not considering the fact that he no longer has security clearance because he's not the president anymore. I mean, that's damaging. It's not like somebody basically defrauded the state of New York for several decades, finally got caught on it, and again, may have affected housing, the pricing market, and everything else in a single state done by him. I mean, that's something I'd be worried about. Or the fact that he's a sexual predator and that somebody finally got justice. Oh, yes, I know. I'm talking about Trump. but I'm making a point here. A guy who literally has tax issues, let the IRS sort him out. But so what if Biden pardoned him? Because again, we're worried about what Trump will do, because that's where my mindset is. My mindset is, what will Trump do once he's in office? And again, they didn't waste any time with this. Trump, along with his legal team, decided to ask the judge, after learning of his pardon, to dismiss his criminal hush money case. You know, the case that he was found guilty of, the case that basically made him a felon. He wants that case thrown out because, and this is the reason that I'm going to harp on for a second. The reason why is because, quote unquote, because this prosecution may disrupt the president-elect's transition and threatens the functioning of the federal government. That is the argument that Trump's attorney has pointed out in court. And this is the thing that I'm going to be honest, this is what bugs me. And this, again, this comes from the DOJ. The opinion of the DOJ is that they will not indict a sitting president of any crime. It didn't help that just a few months ago, the Supreme Court said that some actions done while a person is president he should be immune from. To which Trump's like, yay, me. I was like, no, you're not the president. You're not the president, so the rule doesn't apply. But now, and again, Republicans and Trump are trying to say, well, because Hunter Biden got a pardon, why can I not turn around and get my cases dismissed? I'm about to be president in less than a month. Because you're not the president. And even more so, why is it that when someone is president in America, to me, it's like you're trying to say the president cannot be without fault. We can't. It's almost like saying we can't put our president on trial. Why the frack not? The president is a man. He's not God. The president is not infallible. He will make mistakes. But at the same time, the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, their sole reason is to keep the president in check. It's to keep the president in check. If the president steps out of line, along with Congress, they can pull forward articles to where of impeachment, and to where if it's a full vote, the president can be impeached. At the same time, I just got through talking about France. France had a vote of no confidence today, and their prime minister will now be ousted. Why? Because France does not believe in America the same way we believe about our president. And this is why I say I'm getting a little bit of tyranny of kingship here. Because if Trump does become president, which, again, less than a month away from that mess, how many more times are we going to keep hearing, well, it's the opinion of the DOJ that we cannot indict a sitting president? Trump's attorneys are now trying to go after every one of his cases and get them either thrown out or dismissed. Why? Because they're using that same doggone argument. And that's the problem. The problem is we are basically saying if you're president, you're infallible. If you're president, anything that you've done beforehand can be washed away. And I think that is completely and utterly wrong. This man has 4 other cases, especially the election interference case in Georgia, to which they're trying to get that thrown out. He's still got the case with the FBI to FBI over documents, which again, Special Counsel Jack Smith is winding down. He wants the case closed with prejudice, which means that, and I know for all those that don't know, if the case is closed with prejudice, that means it can be brought back up once Trump's out of office. Here's the thing. We cannot say beyond a shadow of a doubt in 4 years, will Trump be out of office? We can't say that because that's the uncertainty. We've now found out, we have now truly found out that if Trump's back in office, if you vote for me, you'll never have to vote again. That's not him. That's not him blowing smoke up your ass. That's a warning. Because again, for all those that don't know, Republicans have the presidency. They have the House. They have the Senate. It is a full court sweep. Republicans for the next 4 years can push through any bill they want. Almost upended. Because as long as they stick together in the House and in the Senate, things will get passed. And Democrats are now stuck pretty much watching the sidelines. Sure, you can inform. Sure, you can go back to the ground roots and start building up coalitions and really getting people in the local and state offices and try to change things there. You should. Because the thing about it is, guys, and I've said this before about Democrats, they got out organized. Sure, if Biden knew he wasn't going to run for, I mean, you can point the finger blame game all you want to. Should Biden have dropped out if he knew he wasn't going to be running again? Sure. Did Kamala Harris do everything that she could do within 120 days of campaigning? Yes. But at the same time, you can point fingers all you want to, but here's where the Democrats get it wrong. That all the Republicans have done is use money, spend money, got in positions, got people in those positions, and pretty much ran the meter dry. Their message got through. Although now some people are finding out about tariffs, and you should be worried, especially if you're in the shipping industry, especially if you're in the industries that are affected by these tariffs. Jobs could be cut. Prices will go up. Grocery prices are going to increase. Jobs involving those are going to either be cut or reduced. And I'm not even going to think about the fact of the steel market, because for all those that don't remember, Nippon Steel still is in a Nippon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize if I'm not. Nippon Steel wants to still purchase U.S. Steel. They still have a $15 billion acquisition bid on this. Trump is going to turn around there and say, well, once I'm president, I'm going to stop the deal. Buyer beware. What Trump doesn't realize as president, being president doesn't mean you can wave a wand and stop something. If U.S. Steel accepted the bid, there's really not that much you can do. And they can try to stare and say he can do something. He can try to say he can slap on an injunction. But Trump, again, blowing smoke up people's asses. Which again, he also said, well, we need to bring manufacturing. That was the whole thing of tariffs. His whole tariffs was forcing manufacturing to sprout. And I don't know why, but I have to keep bringing this up, because whenever Trump says he's going to build something or do something, I'm just like, this is the same man who bankrupted a casino. A casino. Literally a business is foolproof, designed to bring in money, and he bankrupted it. He bankrupted Trump Airlines. He bankrupted Trump Steaks, Trump Vodka, Trump University. Should I keep going? Every business Trump has had, he has basically ran into the ground. And America's next. So, again, this is why I'm sitting here saying, guys, we are literally less than a month away from idiocracy. Because Trump with a full conservative government has never been good. But for all those that decided they want to vote for Trump, you effed up. You basically, your FO part is definitely coming up once he's signed in. Because they're not just attacking the economy, they're attacking education. Why? Because some people believe that religion should be in schools, especially if you're the Oklahoma superintendent right now, who's going to say something that's going to be, well, kind of funny when it comes to Bible and historical accuracies.
Number of states tonight, schools facing a particularly tricky test. How far can you take religion into the classroom?
We want our kids to understand American exceptionalism, what made America great.
Oklahoma State Superintendent Ryan Walters says schools need to go further. He has ordered all schools to incorporate the Bible and 10 Commandments into curriculum for grades 5 through 12. And now he says he's purchased 500 Bibles. The elected Republican's ultimate goal? Put one in every Oklahoma classroom.
You're saying you're not forcing Christianity on people, but I think some people might see it as that. So what would you say to allay those concerns?
Look, what I would say is you can be offended by Christianity. You can not agree with Christianity, but that doesn't give you the right to take Christianity out of American history. And that's what we've seen the left do. We have been very specific. The Bible is there for its historical context. It is not there to say that you should be a Christian or you should follow Christianity.
Are we also talking about having a Bible in a math class, like in a chemistry class? Like, is that the goal, to have it in those kinds of classrooms as well?
Yes, when applicable.
Walters' controversial plans face legal challenge and criticism, including from parents like Erica Wright, who says her son brought his own Bible to school yesterday.
Public school is not Sunday school. I think that my husband and I are the only two people, along with them, that should have this very personal decision about who engages with our children with the Bible.
The mother of three and education advocate calls the mandate an embarrassing distraction in a state whose education system has been ranked near the bottom nationally.
We are struggling so much with our academic outcomes. I want my kids to be going to school focusing on math and reading and science and history.
Teachers like Jenny Bobo worry they could lose their teaching certification by ignoring the mandate.
So if I chose to utilize the Bible in my classroom, I would on purpose be hurting students, and I refuse to do that.
Oklahoma is not the only state caught up in this debate. The Texas State Board of Education just voted to incentivize elementary schools to work biblical themes into their curriculum. Louisiana officials want the 10 Commandments on display in public school classrooms. That push blocked for now by a federal judge. New policies pushing the limits of the separation of church and state.
Do you actually think these mandates from you are going to hold up at the U.S. Supreme Court?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jesse Kirsch, NBC.
So what's crazy about this is, and I know we've covered this before. We've covered this previously with this guy, that he turns around and says, well, there's historical references in the Bible. Here's the thing. I wouldn't use something that you use in church that you would use in school. Hence why the separation of church and state. Also, if we were to look statistically, states that were more worried about religion than education, their graduation rates and things of that nature are poor. And some parents, like myself, I'm gonna be honest, I did not send my kid to learn the Bible at school. I send my kid to school for a quality education, as they are right as American citizens. They are due for a quality education for life skills that will help them out as adults. That's the whole point of school. However, it is amazing to me that, again, this is why I talk about, guys, where these people, I'm not just talking Moms for Liberty, I'm not just talking the extreme Christian people who believe that, Christianity needs to be taught in schools. What they've done is the groundwork. What I mean by that is they ran, they got elected, and you got people in positions that will affect others or force religion upon them. But I'm a one, you know what? Not to quote Dave Chappelle, but modern problems require modern solutions. And if you're going to introduce the Bible in school and say that you want to bring religion back into school, cool. Bring in the Quran. Bring in the 95 verses. Bring in Martin Luther's 95 verses. Bring in Hinduism. Bring in Buddhism. Bring in all these other religions, because that's how you know if it's just forcing Christianity down people's throats or it's really about religion. Because if you're just going to introduce one, introduce them all. I'm pretty sure the Church of the Satanic Temple will gladly help in that situation, even though they do good work. Let's be honest. But that's the point I'm getting at. If it's truly about religion, then let them other ones in, and then, well, let's just see what happens. Let's see the hypocriticism come out. Well, you can't teach that. Why? It's religion. The same grace that you're trying to use for Christianity can also be used everywhere else. Why? Because this is the door you open. We're just exploiting it. But what's really going to hurt here, guys, is that the kids are going to be hurt from this. That, again, you shouldn't have to worry about a Bible in school. You should be worried about, they should be teaching critical thinking. They should be teaching how to think outside the box, lateral thinking. They should be teaching and preparing these kids to become progressive adults, not Bible repeaters. But I digress for now, because we're going to see what happens, because I still hope the Satanic Church or another religious group gets in on this and just watch their heads explode. Should be fun. Speaking of things that are fun, guys, yes, I make fun of Republicans, not intentionally, but they should be. The Republicans who have the party of family values and things of that nature. Well, this should, I know this is not the feel good segment, but I still got to show this anyway. Imagine you're so drunk that you basically pissed your pants through a DUI. Happened to Senator Ken Yeager. And again, it's always fun to watch. And I was going to leave it right there just because that basically is the funniest DUI field sobriety test I've ever seen, where it is beyond obvious. Well, it's beyond obvious for two things. But again, that's the state senator for Tennessee, Ken Yeager, who apparently decided that I'm just going to just go right here and just be okay with that. At the same time, he serves as the Republican Senate caucus chair, and as of now, being his own receptacle. I'll leave it at that. But again, it's not a feel good segment, but I still got to point that out because, well, still funny to me. But speaking of feel good segment, let's get to it, guys. Because usually, how the Frack got here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes make you faith in humanity. But hey, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow is Friday, which is Thursday. We want to leave you guys out some good vibrations. So, post-colonizer / Thanksgiving, we do got a nice story about a man who basically stepped in to help someone in need. And now another friendship has happened on Colonizer Day.
And a GMA update on a really sweet story here. It was a special Thanksgiving for mail carrier Jalen Lockhart accepting an invitation in Aurora, Illinois to attend a feast hosted by the Miller family. Now, it's been a whirlwind couple of weeks for the duo who gained national attention. Earlier this month, Jalen spotted guy take a tumble while walking his dog and then alerted his family. Take a look.
Hello, post office. Is there an older gentleman out that lives here? Yes. He fell down the road there.
It's kind of a bad thing this is how I got to know Jalen, but in a good sense, it's a good thing. James is another friend.
You can see how emotionally as Jalen jumped right into action to help him out. So the Millers, they've now extended the invitation to Lockhart and his family for Christmas as well. Lockhart adding, "We are all family now."
That is what this season is all about.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't be all family now. That man is saved you from rough and tumble. But again, it's still good news. You know, a guy, you know, he should be honored for, you know, doing the right thing. And if it leads to a Thanksgiving colonizer day, then cool. Happened with the other couple, and that man and that woman are still, again, great friendship. So plus we need something. We need some good news. Shabuzi, we need to come out with some good news. But that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this podcast. Do thank you for watching, for liking, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that. Shameless plugging as usual, guys. Please check out blurrstation.com. I cannot stress enough about this, guys, that we always want our own platform, our own table to where our viewership, our content, most importantly, our dollars can go to us. Tubi is great, but Tubi is also owned by the same people that own Fox, and Tubi is now worth well over $100 million, and that's due to our viewership. Those dollars should go back to us, and that's where Blur Station comes into effect. BlurStation.com is where you can go to. Also, if you want to join now, the Join Now button, select Blur's Eye View Offending Membership. Select myself there, Black Spartan. I would certainly appreciate that. It's $10.99 a month to view Blur Station. $10.99 a month. You cannot beat that with a stick. After 36 months, guys, you do have the ability to own a piece of Blur Station. And owning a piece of a media consortium has never been so much easier. But definitely check them out at blurstation.com. Also, another vehicle, guys, always press record or APR TV on the app. Why? Because you can see shows like mine there. And again, another vehicle that is for us and by us to where our content, most importantly, our dollars go to. So definitely check them out. Always pressrecordtv.com or the APR TV on the Roku app as well. But again, guys, support your own, support the content, support the viewership, because again, we cannot do this without you. And finally, guys, runforoffice.org. You guys have heard me say this a lot during the podcast. This is how they do it. You ever thought about running for office, whether it's a public, state, or federal position? Well, you can actually do that through here. They can actually help you as far as what you need to do to be registered in your state, how to run for it, and again, be a part of the solution and being a public servant. But definitely check out runforoffice.org if you feel so inclined to step off the sidelines and join in being a public servant or working in public office. That being said, guys, you can find me, Black_Spartan615 on the social, guys. The link at the bottom, I'll make that a little bit bigger for you guys to see. If you copy and paste that link into your browser, taking my link to the YouTube and Facebook groups for all of my podcasts. Like, share, and subscribe. A like, and share, and a follow definitely costs you nothing, but means everything. Because simply put, guys, we cannot do this without you. And again, I know that I do talk about a lot about what's going to happen next month. Trump being sworn in, the 118th Congress will also be sworn in. And, well, we know it's not going to be a very pretty sight. That being said, guys, the best thing we can do is organize from the ground up. And hopefully, try to make these 4 years and really try to get through it. It's the best thing that we can do because, again, as we wrap this up, how the Frack We Got Here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information allowing you to make up your own mind, but we do provide a lot of perspective that goes along with it. We do better in society once we're informed, progressive. We move forward. We try to right our wrongs by making decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first Black woman into the Supreme Court, electing our first Black woman as Federal Board of Governors. Maybe one day, one freaking day, we can elect a Black woman as the first Madam President. It would be freaking nice. We don't learn from history. We are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go about our paycheck? Why are we electing the same, different politicians, but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, the Frack We Got Here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves. And I promise we'll get through this. Peace.